Are you ready? I said, are you
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Ironcast. And if you're like me, you're in a post-barbecue coma at the moment. Happy Labor Day, everyone. Thank you for everyone that is joining us. And I will introduce our guests in just a second. Say hello to a few of the folks that showed up here. It's a holiday. I know everybody's got family business, or they're just chilling, or they're just doing all their regular shit. But I want to thank everybody who's showing up to say hi, to say hello to Mr. Christopher Brand. Good to see you. It's 2 a.m. where he's at, planning some epic fantasy. You'll love to see it.
There we go.
My good friend over at Store Corey HQ, a.k.a. Mr. Anime, good friend of the channel with some epic fantasy brewing up in the comic form as well. Mr. Tim McKay, good to see you. Paladin Dragoon writer, hello to you, sir. We are streaming live, multi-streaming actually, over on my channel here on YouTube, Rumble, over at Twitter, and we are streaming live on our guests' YouTube channels as well. Bayou Bomber, no, you're not too. Oh, hi, Noob. The chat jumps on me, and I end up clicking on the wrong person. Hi, Noob. Good to see you. Am I too late, Bayou Bomber? No, you're not. We're here. Trevick, good to see you. Big ups from Andrew Campbell down under. Family business. You guys family? Yes, we do. Most of us do, or at least I know I do. Marchajillo, hi, good to see you, sir. Thanks for dropping in. My two guests this evening who decided to come and chill out with me and neglect their families, or unless you guys gave them enough barbecue to kind of sedate them for the rest of the evening.
Yes.
That's what I did. I did burgers and fries will do that pretty good. Everybody else is chilling. The grilling's already done, but joining me this evening is our good friend, Mr. Spencer, over at the Fantasy Files Podcast, who just crossed the 1K threshold. Congratulations, man.
Right. Thank you.
And Mr. Aaron of Immortal Rising Comics, the fantasy comic you can see here in my hand, which we'll take a look at a little later. And you've got issue 2 brewing up.
I do have issue 2. It's live right now. Also, I wanted to kind of plug my YouTube channel. So Friday nights I host a show with Jason Sandberg and Craig Wright of Mad Ruth, who did Soul Tech. If you're interested in indie comics, we don't just talk indie comics, but we do have indie comic guests on. Not just indie comics, we also do indie RPG guys. I guess some of the big guests we'll have up this month is Michael Bancroft, who did the Lucent. We're also going to have Yang Zhao. If you're an RPG guy, you know who that is. As well as Ares Chronicles this Friday. So come check us out. Sub to my channel, and then because we all kind of share and put it all out together, kind of like this one. So sub to my channel or one of them, and you'll see the show. It's super fun. We have a lot of good times.
Indeed. Everyone sub to their channels. Good channels. I'll have the links in the description once this is done, because I asked a few folks to come on. Some folks were busy. Some folks, it was a bit of a late ask. But, whoever could show.
For sure. Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to Trebit in chat. He's a friend I've made recently through another YouTube channel, actually. And then I kind of joined their community, and then I'm surprised to see him over here. He's like a friend like twice removed, so it's kind of cool to see how he made his way over here. That's great.
Good to see you, Trevitt. Good to see you. Guys, how's your day been going? Did you enjoy your day off? Or did you even have one?
I didn't have a day off.
Yeah, I mean, technically I had the day off, but spent most of the day painting my deck. So I said it's with an E, deck, yes. But I got it all done. So there we go.
Oh, good, man. Feels good to have one of them projects done, huh?
Yes, and I pre-gamed the day because I had already grilled up a big old pork loin, and so then for dinner, what I did was I just made up some my homemade ramen noodles with sliced pork loin. Oh, it's so good!
Ooh,
Everybody loved it.
that sounds
That
bomb.
does sound good. That does sound good.
Yeah,
I've,
grilled pork loin.
I've never had ramen, believe it or not.
No way.
My wife has never wanted to try Asian food, and I've just never gone out of my way to try it. So I think
It's
maybe I've
good.
tried some, but ramen specifically, like I stayed away from the, like the instant stuff. Although I do have some
Sure.
on hand for like prepping purposes. However, I've never like had just a really good cooked bowl of ramen. I've always wanted to try. I think it's called pho, pronounced.
You've
Oh,
never had
yeah.
pho?
I guess whatever. It's
Oh man, you're missing out on some of the good foods here.
But you got to go when you go to the restaurant that cooks it. You have to make sure that the cook is actually of that ethnicity. So, like when
Yeah.
you go to get some pho or whatever, got to be Vietnamese. If you go to get ramen,
Right.
they got to be Japanese. So, like
Right.
here we got a local place. That's what he does is all like sushi and ramen and stuff. It's in an old converted house. I mean, the house isn't that old, but he converted a house into a restaurant. And he cooks up. He's got Dragon Ball Z everywhere, like murals, and like it's on the TV and stuff. It's so great. It's a good time. And I turn my kids on to like actual ramen, not just like store bought kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you got to remember, guys, like, how have I never tried this amazing food? I live in Louisiana. Like, all our food's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
amazing food is, I get really pissy at people on Twitter when they try that whole, white people don't season their food. And I'm like, you've never met a Cajun in your life or ate their
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Is this the same white people that conquered the world for spices? I'm confused.
Right.
I don't understand.
I've always seen that as a really gross generalization, because when you hear stuff like that, when they say white people, what they're thinking of is white bread suburbanites that have never gone outside their culture.
Corporatized Americans.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Sweater vest wearing motherfuckers and shit like that. Guys who still say golly gee willikers and think Leroy Beaver was an accurate representation of what life was like in the 50s.
I mean, I wish. Don't be so hard on the beef, guys. Jeez.
Man. Well, I just want to say real quick, John, your intro has come such a long way. The intro, like cinematic to this thing. I don't think I've seen the new one. I don't know when you implemented that, but it looked awesome. And then I love this like moving background behind us. It's making me a little dizzy, but I'm getting used to it. But it looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten compliments on it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I try and make it what little production value I can a little bit worth it. Just be a little entertaining. I've only got so much charisma going on here, right? I got to compensate for it another way.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little distraction,
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
You don't have the ramen to fuel you.
No.
That's what it is.
No, I've got crawfish and jambalaya and gumbo and etouffee,
some crawfish and gator,
boudin, which is a little point of contention between me and my wife. She's from Alabama, so she has this genetic disposition to pronounce every Cajun word wrong, no matter how hard. She doesn't even try. So she'll tell me, "Can you go down to Walmart and get some boudin?" And I'm like, "Stop! It's pronounced boudin." Okay, this is my culture. You're butchering here.
Yeah.
And then we have a fight, and then I go get the boudin, and then I just go up and grill it up. It goes good with burgers. Even the cheap Walmart stuff tastes pretty decent.
Yeah.
But we'll switch gears here real quick, guys. Before we get into some of the topics, I had something I needed to get out of the way, and it's going to end up on the channel a little later. And that is, I have got at least 10 minutes here to go through my book haul for the month of August, which I kind of put off till today. I meant to do it on Friday, but I'm glad I waited because like two gift books and a book that I ordered at the last second showed up over the weekend. Otherwise, I was looking at a pretty slim book haul this month, and I only ended up having one comic, and I ended up backing more comics than I actually bought. So I'm gonna have to wait for those to come in. But I got this one. Let me get my letter opener real quick.
It's a Cajun letter opener.
Yeah. Well, most things in the household also double as home defense. So this happened very recently. The Eric July's Rippaverse went on a big sale and sold a bunch of had a lot of comics out for $5. So I thought I would get another copy of issue 2 of ISOM. That's kind of hard to see. You know what? Let me go into cover mode here. Okay, that's terrible, but it's
there.
Good
We
for
go.
I got this one. I was nothing wrong with my old one. I just didn't want the cover that I had, so I got this one instead, which kind of has.
Who did that cover?
I don't know. I'd have to open.
So-
Let me open it up and find out.
He's got a few different covers. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I didn't want the EVS cover anymore. I was gonna.
I have a question. I have a question about these Rippaverse comics because I don't read comics at all. I've been meaning to get into them, but I just haven't. I know a lot of people support him because he's kind of like anti-modern comics, and that's cool and everything. I don't really know much about that, but are they actually like good, or are they like legitimately good stories and good characters?
They're okay.
Yeah.
If you get used to the storytelling method that they implement, and
Is it very different?
No, it's just they implement a start in the middle of the story, and there's a lot of inference, right? You're not told a lot of things. You kind of have to infer things. Like they don't explicitly tell you what a lot of characters' powers are. You just kind of infer it through the action that's going on in the scenes. Like the character of Isom. They don't explicitly say that what powers he has, but you can infer based on the fact that he can't fly, he's strong, he's fast, he's tough. He's got the Captain America power set, right?
Right.
And they've decided to leave a lot of the story, they're not front loading the lore about the world that they're in. It's an interesting little world. We're 5 issues deep now, and we kind of are getting a sense of there was some kind of separation war in the United States. Texas is its own independent country. And this is stuff this is a little bit drip drab throughout the comics. This is drip drab throughout the comics, till you kind of piece together. So they're not, doing a bunch of origin stories. Most of the characters that you're with are, they're in the middle of the story. They've been around, they've been there. It's not
Like
without
it's lived
criticism.
in? Like it's lived in.
Yeah. A lot of the characters, like Isom specifically, he was a superhero who had to quit for a personal reason, and he's coming back into the game now. And each comic, or at the very least, the 2 Isom comics introduced a lot of newer characters, and several of those have gotten their own number ones, like Yaira, the Alpha Core, most recently Gooding, who is a tech-based rescue hero. And it's interesting. It's not how I would approach a comic in the sense that, I would like for there to be, something that kind of lays out the foundation of what the world is kind of like. But it's perfectly fine. But to me, a comic that's okay is just fine as well. You hear a lot of people who are detractors of Eric. They'll turn every nothing burger about that he releases into this giant. They try to make mountains out of molehills, right?
Right.
And they seem to have this idea that every issue that's not a 10 out of 10 bestseller is somehow a failure. So I don't buy it. I've bought comics my entire life and read them, and if they're fine comics, they're just fine. I don't go into this looking for high art. If they turn out to be high art, that's fine as well.
Sure.
But let me text my son who was waiting in the thing.
Real quick, shout out to my co-host who's in chat under the name of XX Evil Wings. That's my co-host, Gabe.
Oh, nice.
So it sounds like to me that, and I, again, remember that I don't know anything about these, but it sounds like they're maybe not like perfect comics, but they're a good alternative to what's out there.
And me, I'm the kind of reader that loves getting invested in a universe from the very start. So I was there from the very start. What you have in indie comics is a much more volatile and competitive atmosphere. So a
Yeah.
lot of the people that view Eric's success as a threat, and especially if they're a much bigger comic creator. If you want me to put this in like booktube terms,
Yeah.
I want you to imagine if Petrick, Daniel Green, and Mike of Mike's Book Reviews all hated each other's guts,
Okay.
and their fan bases fought with each other on social media, and they did streams where they would, spend hours trashing each other.
Yeah,
It's kind of like that right now.
that's kind of the thing that has like turned me off to a lot of that, because I'm like, man, a lot of this is like really rage baity. A lot of this is like really, it's not just competitive. It's like, it's like trashing each other, and it's just
Well, I will say
And then you
there is
have-
a huge indie comic scene. So it's just
Sure.
a lot of it is like, imagine two kaijus fighting, and the rest of us are like, Jesus, dude.
Aaron's
Can we
part
get a
of
little-
the
Can we not be crushed by buildings?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sounds like that's deterring you as well. There's actually
Yeah.
a lot of us out there who are not associated with any of it. So
Yeah,
we're
Aaron's
just
part
trying
of
to
the-
sell our indie books. Like
Yeah.
me.
part of the indie comic scene that just wants to make and create great indie comics,
Yeah.
and that's all there is to it. And me, I'm always been a bit of a comic normie. I like my superheroes, I like my comic books, but at the end of the day, I'm not getting into these comic books to get 15 divergent, 15
Yeah.
what are the covers called?
Variants?
Yeah, it's a 15 variants of the same comic and cover, getting them graded by whoever does that thing where they put them in plastic, a plastic
CGC.
case, and they grade them for collector. Like, man, that collector's market thing was what almost killed Marvel in the 90s. I just
Yeah, exactly.
I don't plan on selling this shit down the road. I buy comics to read comics. That's all there is to that. But
Yeah.
Well, and there's a
escalate.
lot of them out there in the indie scene that it's like, they're not just like rehashes of, say, generic superhero kind of stuff. There's a lot of them out there that are just original in general. So I would say check it out. If you have a genre you're interested in, which sounds like fantasy, then go look at some fantasy comics. Like mine.
like a Mortal Rising.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a brand just starting out, but I've got a lot going on. So
That's
I'm not going away anytime soon either.
Yeah, I have
I would do a
reviewed.
pitch right now, but I don't want to. I'm not trying to say.
No, we'll get to that later. But look, the artist got a good fantasy manga style to it.
Yeah. That's
Who's
cool.
your
Yeah,
artist, Eric?
this same artist, it's Jose Garcia. He did Crimson Rain for was it Clownfish TV. So if you're familiar with Clownfish TV at all, it's the same dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I touch on something that's going on in the chat right now?
I've noticed the talking. What's up?
So I agree with somebody who's talking in chat right now. It's a soft noob girl.
Noob, yeah.
What a name. But she said earlier. She said, "Oh, is it?" Okay.
I don't know. Just kidding. It has to be, right?
Yeah. Earlier they said, where is it? Politics aren't the problem, bad storytelling is. And then they've kind of gone on to expand on their point. And I don't know where you guys fall on this, but I would say I agree. I've played several stories, watched several stories, and read several stories that were all very left-leaning in their politics, but the storytelling was done well. Like there's a show called Sex Education on Netflix, and it's definitely like very, very left-leaning, but you can't help but be sucked into the show once you actually like start watching it, because some of the characters and the little twists that happens and all the little dramas, it's all very compelling. And so I'm curious if you guys agree with that or not, because I find that to be very true for myself.
I guess I'll speak first. I guess I don't really care what the politics are necessarily, as long as the story is done well. You know, I have my own politics, and watching somebody else's politics propaganda doesn't sway me. You know,
Sure. Yeah.
it's really if it's good or not. Like, is it you know, is it done in a manner that is not like smack you in the face and I'm right? You know, like, no. Can we just see how the characters would react in these situations? You know, you know, growing up, what all of Hollywood is liberal. Like all the major stuff has been liberal at one time or another, whatever liberal means anymore, because the damn compass has moved so far. So yeah, I don't know. Explicitly progressive depends on what that means. Like what point are they trying to make in their politics?
Right.
And is it valid, and two, is it a good story? That's really, I mean, or vice versa. Is it a good story and is it valid? Yeah. Like, for instance, what was it? The Boys. I liked the first couple of seasons, but the writing got shitty, and that was obviously, you know, crapping on MAGA. You know, okay, but it's still, is it any good? You know?
Yeah.
I think the perfect encapsulation for the difference in storytelling, the way we used to have it versus what we have now, is probably Star Trek. And you look at the leap from Next Generation and Deep Space Nine, especially, where they were able to kind of, you know, take those concepts and weave them into the story. Sometimes they did it very well, sometimes in a very compelling way, and then sometimes it was a little more ham-fisted. But they were still able to tell, you know, compelling and interesting human-centric stories. And then you go to modern Star Trek, and it alienated so many people with the last several seasons. Like even the third season of Picard, which was apparently good, but Discovery was a dog turd. Picard season 1 and 2 was one of the worst seasons of television I've ever watched in my life.
My buddy said it too.
It was a disservice to the characters. It was just a disservice to everything, and it was oversaturated with the kind of politics of the time that it came out, and it drove away so many people from Star Trek that nobody watched the rest of Discovery, right? Nobody was interested in anymore. IDW is about to lose the Star Trek license for the Star Trek brand to make Star Trek comics, and the only reason they got it is because nobody else wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating because I like good storytelling. Even if I can recognize that it's loaded with politics, as long as there is good story. Perfect example: ElfQuest. ElfQuest is a damn good comic. It is an exceptional fantasy comic. It came out of the hippie era, so it's loaded with a lot of, you know, hippie ideals. You know, the elves are kind of free loving and whatnot, and they don't focus on that. They don't gloss that over. And Wendy and Richard Penny know how, you know, what their readers like, and they provide it. Great characterization, great action, great drama. It manages to hit all the great things you would love about something without bashing you over the head with, you know, lectures. And really, lecturing is what it comes down to people. But
like your sexual identity. Like, I don't care what your sexual identity is unless it's important to the story. So
anyway, look, before we get too far off the track, let me get back to my book.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't mean to take us down a tangent.
I do want to interrupt, though. I want to be annoying, and I want to interrupt because you mentioned Star Trek Deep Space Nine. You do realize that the Bell riots just happened technically through Star Trek canon, like yesterday or the day before. So we are now on the other side of the Bell riots per Star Trek canon. So welcome to it, guy. Do you remember that, the Bell riots in Star Trek Deep Space Nine?
Boy, it's been.
They go back to San Francisco, and there's they're living in, like, you know, the homeless shelters and all this other shit. And then the crew uses this historical riots as like cover to finish their mission. And then it turns out that Cisco ends up being called the Bell, the guy who starts the riots, or the riots are based on. It's interesting. Go back. I think it's like season 3. So yeah, go revisit. And actually, I'm pretty sure that Razorfist has done you know, he does his Deep Space Nine breakdown kind of show. Yeah, go check it out. It's a good one. Sorry. Go ahead. Go back.
I'm due for a rewatch of Deep Space Nine. Marjorie Jello for $2. Thank you, sir. Remember, folks, it's not New Orleans, it's Nolans.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what the tourists say. That's the tourist pronunciation of it. Okay, back to my
Yeah,
book haul.
open
Just
your
real
books,
quick, I want
John.
to get some of these
Open your
out. Yeah,
books.
let me open my books real
Yeah.
quick. I know what this one is, and
Yes.
I'm going to get this one out the way. This
We're
is
just chilling.
the latest book in the Barbarians of the Storm Pope novellas,
Ooh.
and this is Double Killer Fenric. And this is with this I will explain in just a second.
Is this a comic too?
No, this is novellas. It's pulp sci-fi fantasy, sword and sorcery, based on his love of 80s fantasy movies.
That's Rob, isn't it? What's his name?
Yeah,
Rob.
Rob Rhymes, and
Rob
it started with his basically it's a portal fantasy to start with. We got Dan the Destructor, book 1. Its sequel, Atomic Beasts and Where to Kill Them. I love that.
It's great marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The anthology, Eyes in All Shadows. And
Are these recent books?
yeah, within the last year.
Oh.
Swords
Jeez.
Against Bastards, which is these 4 books conclude the first arc of the story, and then it goes into a side quest story called Fenric 1984. I think he gets transported to the 80s or something.
Another sci-fi?
Sci-fi fantasy. He structures the world in such a way that anything feels possible.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
So, yeah. The anthology Crown of Furious Color and Other Stories. An Axe to Eat the Gods.
Nice.
And now Double
is this
Killer
by?
Fenric, which is him versus Fenric, the barbarian character, against the Yakuza.
Rob who?
Rob Rhymes, Rimes. He's been
Guys,
going
go
through.
look him up on Twitter.
Yeah, Rob has a love of epic of like 80s sci-fi and cyberpunk, and he just created this world where anything from our world could wind up in this fantasy world. It very imaginative. It prioritizes a lot of fun over form. So first book
Really
kind of
cool.
has that it's got a little bit, it's got present tense, it's got, and it feels a little simplistic, but he does find his writing stride after once he hits the second book. And
There we go.
looking to delve into all of these. And let me put these around. But this is the latest release, Double Killer Fenric, which, if I'm not mistaken, Fenric is a chosen one kind of barbarian in the world, and he gets transported to our world in the 80s, and this is him versus the Yakuza, if I'm not mistaken. So putting this, he knows how to take a really cool and awesome concept.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Makes me want to go watch like American Ninja. For like.
Fuck me sideways.
What happened?
MSK, dude, I completely forgot. I am so sorry. I was supposed to be streaming with him right now.
No way.
Shit.
Feel so fucking awful.
Do you need to
right
get
now.
out of here?
God, I've already got this stream going.
I mean, can he join us in simulcast or whatever?
Fuck, man, dude, I am so sorry. It slipped my head completely. Man, I feel so bad now. I forgot.
We're good if you need to bounce.
I've only been here for 30. I don't know that I can stop this. I'll be more than happy to have him on if he'll forgive me.
Oh,
Dude, I'm so sorry, man. That is my
bring
fault.
gifts. Yeah, send him. Andrew says send him the link. Yeah.
I mean, I will. Oh God.
Unless he's already going.
God, I'm gonna have to make this up to him. That poor guy. I was supposed to. He invited me on. I'm like, yeah, no way, no problem. And I just got up this morning, forgot about I'll figure I'll stream. That does explain the feeling that I forgot something this morning.
Yeah.
Couldn't remember it, but I'm older, so I get that. I get that a lot. Oh God, I boomered it. I boomered this shit so hard. Oh man.
Andrew says, "Let me ban the chat so you can leave guilt free."
Yep.
Ban the chat.
Everybody out.
Hey, hi Milo. Good to see you. I'm
Funny.
gonna keep going for the
Okay.
time being. Okay. I'm gonna if he wants to come on, whatnot. That's cool with me. I'll be happy to support the guy. I owe him like 2 streams now. Okay, this is coming from a good friend of me and Mr. Matt of Bearded Book Beast. This is from the library of, it's hard to see that, but E.L. Montague, who is an indie author, bit of an indie author himself. He offered to send me something. I said, sure. And he has sent me a copy of his book, To Catch a Witch.
Oh.
Which,
Ooh.
very nice, kind of creepy looking cover there. It says,
That's a good cover.
Caught in a scandal with Lord Arl that draws the attention of King Harold's Inquisition, I don't know how to pronounce it, is forced to flee her home into the dark wood. The young hedge witch, pursued by Master Macon Den Lo and his henchman Cobb, is tested by the forest's rugged terrain, dangerous predators, and legendary monsters. Cool. Oh, this is like novella length. I can put this in my novella roundup.
There we go.
To Catch a Witch by E.L. Montague. Oh, that looks wonderful, dude. Really creepy. It might be a good Halloween read. Another book from him. This one in a bit of a hard thing. No, can you pirate my books if I buy them later? No, I'll just give you a copy of my book. My God, it's like $5. You send me your email. I'll just send you I'll just comp you a copy of my book. In fact, I may have a copy that I didn't actually I meant to send to somebody, and they couldn't get it because they were overseas.
Are you getting an audiobook of your book of Black Crown?
I've got a guy that can do it.
Okay.
The question now is the funding for it. So
yeah, what's it gonna cost?
Probably at the very least 2,000, right?
Right.
Which is
yeah,
pretty
okay.
standard. Was pretty standard for an audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you want one. I have contemplated reading it myself and just putting it on my YouTube channel, but I know that my voice doesn't really quite have the quality.
That's one of those things where I'm like, let
the professionals
for the sake of everybody, let the professionals do it.
Well, do they also add like sound effects and stuff?
I would have.
Not always.
Not all of them. I would have.
Like I listened to Razorfist do some BattleTech books, and they had like guns, laser sounds, and all. It was pretty good. I like.
Oh, his Shadow audio pulps ruined audiobooks for me. Like, they were so good.
Yeah.
What does he read? What does he narrate?
He preferred. Well, he did a couple of Shadow pulps because he is a huge Shadow fan.
What's a Shadow pulp?
The Shadow, you remember?
Oh yeah,
I am
yeah.
the Shadow.
The Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow.
Right.
And they were really good. They were really good pulps. The author of The Shadow, Walter B. Gibson, dude, was a prolific. He wrote the pulps. He wrote the scripts for the comics. He wrote the scripts for the radio show when it was at the height of its popularity. Like, Razorfist really sold The Shadow on me. So, I wanted to dig into them, but unfortunately, a lot of the novels are out of print. Right, the last time they were printed was in the 70s. You can still find some in circulation, but it's not that as good. You can get, if you go to like Internet Archive, you can get like because The Shadow is like almost in public domain, all the pulps in like one big chunk, but it's all like one block text, and I can't stand that.
Yeah.
All right, so E.L. Montague sent me his other books, Adrift in the Next Revolution and Heirs of a Flawed Creation. This new camera angle is wonky because my microphone is right in the way. E.L., thank you for these. I appreciate that. I'm going to put these on the book haul. Let me see. I got another thing. From the Paladin books to... Oh, that's my real name. Oh, wait, I'm going to do that one last. Be careful not to accidentally dox myself. Yeah. This one comes courtesy of somebody who's in the chat. Yes, there he is right there. Mr. Tim McKay gave me a copy of the Fall of Salvandria. I don't want to mispronounce that, but I sound stupid saying it slow. TJ McKay. Oh, this looks nice. Looks good. Formatting's great. Illustrations, hell yes. This looks great, man. Tim McKay. Too. Yeah, I do like a good hardcover. No noob. This is not sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, and I probably would not be against it if I had no other choice. I know who is in the next book. Nice. All right. Let me get this done with. Shit, man. Got Gorilla Tape on this.
Big one.
There we go.
Yeah. Dude put Gorilla Tape on this thing. He did not want anything happen to this in transit.
Yeah, it must have sent a UPS.
UPS. He probably could have flung this out of a catapult and it would have made it in one piece. I'm not kidding. This is literally Gorilla Tape. Like, there's no tear in this with my hands. Normally, I've got the strength. I would just destroy the box before the tape would actually rip.
You're like the redneck Daniel Green with your big military knife.
I like it.
Wow. This is nice.
Who is this from?
This is from Brian McCoppin, who's the author of Record of the Paladins, Book of Oliver.
Yeah.
Modern day gunslinger paladin, if I'm not mistaken. All nice and wrapped up, too. It's like I'm doing oh, wow. The man gave me the whole package.
There's just a gun in there.
Fuck
Don't
yeah.
threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, America.
Oh, wow. A nice drink
Ooh,
tumbler.
that's nice. Yeah.
Ooh.
Brian, thank you. That is very, very kind of you.
He's got like a whole Templar brand thing going on too. I see him on Twitter. Him and his family. They're all wearing Templar shirts and shit. It's cool.
I got merch. T-shirt. Oh yeah, this is gonna. I should get more merch from my my fellow friends. Nice. I like it.
There it is.
That's cool.
I've got to get some merch of my own too. And finally, the last thing on the sequel to the book of Oliver, Record of the Paladins, Book of Ivan and Ivor. I don't know. I'm not going to butcher that. Ivor, I guess. Sorry, I hate mispronouncing things.
Iviore. No, I don't know.
Is it Ivory? Or
that makes sense.
Now I feel bad.
That could be
Fancy way of putting ivory.
Ivory.
Cool, man. Thanks. This will come in handy because I don't like getting condensation on my desk. Kind of stinks. Let's put these two bad boys next to each other. That's got to feel good, huh, Brian McCoppin? Oh yeah, that looks nice.
That's cool.
Representing.
Represent.
Nice,
all right.
Nice.
Well, that's my book haul, everyone. Thank you for watching this. I'm going to play the end of the outro for my video when I inevitably have to patch this together tomorrow. Interrupted with a lot of other discussions.
Yes, sorry.
No reply from MSK, so I'm guessing he went on stream something else. I'll have to make this up to them in a big way because this is totally my fault. Shit. All right. Well, let me go to one of the topics I'm going to cover as I sit here and feel fucking guilty all stream long.
It'll be all right.
Oh, I did want to cover a couple of the books, a couple of the projects that I backed as well.
Ooh.
Real quick, because this is going to be part of the book haul as well. One thing I wanted to back this month has been making a lot of rounds. This is The Hidden Emperor a sci-fi graphic novel coming to us from John Della Rose. He was one of the indie authors that I found first when I started looking into indie authors back in 2019, and he's got a really good output with his books and his comics. He makes comics on the regular, and he had a lot of prose books out. He's got like a steampunk series. He's got a sci-fi series, and he's pretty devout Catholic, so a lot of his fiction, his prose fiction, kind of reflects that that particular thing. Why noob? Well, because a little sex appeal helps sell products, and there's nothing wrong with that.
John saw boobs and he said, "Take my money."
Well, this was actually that was nice. I mean, I always appreciate a good pinup, but it does take a little more than that to sell me on something. I'm not against it. This is a sequel to his graphic novel Overmind, which is set in a sci-fi universe. He's been planning this for a little while, and this is his hope is that he's going to start building this into a universe to kind of help folks like I did. I wanted a universe of my own because I like getting into those things, and Star Wars and Star Trek, they've been dropping the ball, and I like getting in on universes from the beginning. So he's going to be doing that with this, and hopefully spinning out into something that kind of competes with Warhammer 40K, because what we've seen happen with Star Wars and Rings of Power, there's a lot of people like that behind the scenes at Warhammer 40K. Games Workshop, I kid you not, is one of the worst companies in terms of like how they treat their customers, right?
Yeah.
They are not very customer friendly, and they copyright strike fans who make fan animations, and and on top of the
you gotta let your fans enjoy your product,
Yeah. That's right. So that's right, noob. It can, but this is not sex though. It's just a sexy pinup is all it is.
I was going to say, it looks like it's not really deterring anybody.
No. Yeah, this is as of today, this hit 34,000, which is officially his highest selling indie funded comic so far. It's got a really good trailer. But I'm gonna well, it baited me, BA.
It's bait.
Well, and so for my
I'm not immune to bait. I'm sorry.
I don't use sex. I don't even cuss in the comic or anything like that. But with after my first campaign, everybody fell in love with the Empress. This blue elf chick, and she's kind of hot or whatever. So for my second campaign, I'm like, let me have Corey Barton make me a cheesecake cover, and I was like, let me lean into it. And everybody loves it. So I'm in, hey, that little cheesecake is all right. Like, hey, what's wrong with bait art? Especially if like you've already kind of established or you show it's like, that's not what it's about. This is just for fun. I'm not trying to show tits on every page.
Does it show some of the other art that's in it?
Yeah, I'll go to that in a second, but I did want to mention here, because they hit over 20,000 and 30,000, they were able to get big stretch goals where they've got a short story that's going to be added to. This is going to be a graphic novel and a prose novel as well. And it's going to have a short story. Now, one of the stretch goals was a short story by mystery writer. That ended up being Blaine Lee Pardoe, who is now going to be writing a short story for it. And there's going to be an extra 4-page comic that's going. Who was it that did that? I'm trying to remember here off the top of my head. Mike Barron's going to be writing a small prose story as well. So, was it Mike Barron or Chuck Dixon? I have to go back and look, but cool. It's going pretty good. I was looking forward to this, a new sci-fi universe, because it's been a while. And look, Star Wars and Star Trek, I was fans of those, but I'll be honest, my favorite sci-fi universe of all time was Mass Effect, and it's not even close. It's something that even approaches just a little bit of that would be really good in my eyes. I'm itching for some good sci-fi universe stuff. So there was that.
If you're into here's some Soul Tech. That's sci-fi. It's in our solar system, so it's not too crazy. It's super in the future, but it feels kind of like what is it? The Expanse, or kind of like a Star Warsy feel without as much fantasy. So yeah, check it out. He's on like issue 5 right now. So there's already a few stories built up. Yep.
Let me go to the artwork. You see, he's got his artist, Ms. Crimson, is a Brazilian artist. You can see it looks a little like this right here. Very, good, clean sci-fi action.
Nice.
This was the original Aileron novel. Aileron's the main character.
It's like very old school sci-fi.
He loves old school sci-fi. See, like, this is the original poster of her. John not only likes like old school comics and sci-fi and stuff, but he works to kind of emulate the feel of them. I'll give an example real quick because I recently, hold on, I got to reach up here for it. I promise I'm wearing pants.
Don't hurt yourself. Oh shit.
All right.
Couldn't tell.
Okay. This was his sword and sorcery comic that he made, Deus Volt, which you can see a little bit of bait on the front, but this was done in homage to John Buscema, who was an amazing Marvel sword and sorcery artist back in the day. And this was done to kind of emulate his style. I'm trying to find a good page that kind of showcases it a little bit. But it's just straight up, good old school sword and sorcery fantasy. You can tell he really went out of his way to try and make it look and read like an old school sword and sorcery comic.
Yeah.
And I think they really achieved that. And you only kind of get this kind of thing when somebody is going out of their way to try and achieve, that kind of an homage. Not everybody can, but he reads a lot of old school comics. You can tell that that's the kind of thing that he wants to write.
Yeah. He's trying to do like a Barry Windsor Smith kind of look. I like it. Looks good.
Yeah, it was a good comic.
Like, I think Barry Windsor Smith did the best Conan kind of art. So, I mean, I'm not saying like Frazetta and all that shit. I just mean for the comics.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. I got the book stuff out the way. Our guest has been waiting for a minute. I told him we're not all the way done with the book stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring him on. As my son Bracken, or it's Bracken now. It was Braxton last time.
No, it was Bracken last time.
He's finding himself. It's fine.
Oh, don't you start.
The greetings.
What up? Nice to meet you.
Hello. So what are we moving on to now?
Real quick before we move on, I did want to move on to just this one next one that I had real quick. There we go. I backed this month. This campaign's already closed. This is by Nick Gibson, who was the comic creator behind Screecher and futuristic Samurai 2100, if I'm not mistaken. And he's got his first novel that he ended up crowdfunding to kind of cover the cover and cover the editing process. It's going to be edited by Daniel P. Riley, my editor. Lost Kingdom, a fantasy novel set in space, and he says it's going to be very similar to Star Wars, only told from the perspective of the Obi-Wan character. So,
okay,
Daniel's going to be working with him on that. I'm always a big supporter of somebody, especially when it's their first novel. Want him to kind of get that out there and get his feet wet. And looking forward to reading this and seeing what he brings to the table. The only other thing, and
he has like 4 other comics or something. So he's been writing for a while.
Yeah, he is not resting on his laurels. He's got a good output, and like I said, comics that are fine are just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having comics that are simple. I read simple comics all my life. His comics are a little like simple in structure and nature, and a lot of homages to things that he's watched before. But I've always maintained that any creative needs to get better, and the only thing any creative needs to get better is to keep doing it and do more of it. And maybe what you have right out the gate's not going to be the knockout 10 out of 10 blockbuster that everyone, every writer wants and thinks it needs to be. But you got to start somewhere.
That's
Just
right.
start. It's a marathon. It's not a race. Noob asked, what is our opinion on we pronounce them Tintin. I've heard some people call them Tonton because it's French in origin. Have you guys read any Tintin comics or seen the movies or cartoons?
I have not. I remember the old HBO show, but and the movie that came out, I don't know, was it 5-10 years ago? It looked good. I just never got around to watching it.
Oh, it was good.
Eventually. My son likes the adventure kind of stuff. He liked, we watched Indiana Jones 1, 2, and 3, and he was into that. So, might pick up some Tintin for him.
Yeah, I think that was, I kind of grew up with them as well, like in the same era, but I never like read them or anything. So
yeah,
I don't know too much about them.
I watched the cartoon in the 90s, thought it was all right. I never read any of the comics. That movie is a highly underrated gem. It was a passion project by Steven Spielberg because he grew up reading that and he wanted like a really good movie to go to match it. And he did it with I think it was Robert Zemeckis in that era where he was doing, the motion captured 3D movies. It came out in that era. So it does unfortunately do that thing where a lot of the big heavy action scenes have a lot of shit flying close to the screen and because you're supposed to be wearing 3D glasses in a 3D theater to make it kind of pop more. It's not as egregious as the Polar Express, but it's still a damn good movie.
Yeah.
I have very strong opinions on the Polar Express. None of them positive.
Yeah, we watched that movie for the first time a couple years ago because we love Christmas in our house. Boy, that was not a hit. That was not a hit. It was not, but I'm gonna save that for a Christmas stream though. I'm gonna go over to this one now. Aaron, I have not backed this yet, but I plan to, and I really want to because I backed the first one, and I'm looking forward to the second one.
I think you'll like it. It's gorgeous. I mean, the art, and as well as the story, we get to see a lot more character development in the second one. So I don't think you'll be disappointed.
I'm just going to play this without sound for us.
Yeah, that's fine. Actually, the audio on it's a little potato, but I had Anime redo it. I just haven't posted it onto the website yet. So there is a better audio quality one out there. But I mean, look at Jose's work, man. And actually, so number 3, the sketches are done. I just need to get the second half of the cash to them, so then I can have them in my greedy little hands. And I'm hoping to have everything painted and finished, or I guess colored and finished by, I would say early next week. And then the third campaign would be by June at the latest. So that's kind of where I'm looking. Let's get to the third one out because the main story is basically like there's this party, this fantasy party. They're kind of put together. They don't really know each other. It's kind of random, and they have to survive in a war of this greater war that's going on that they don't really know anything about. So they're stuck in this crazy new world. It's a little isekai, but they also meet some locals who join the fight with them. And they got to get over their own bullshit between each other because they're very different, class, race, all that shit. Talking about progressive. In fact, there's even an Arab in there. But so anyways,
I wanted to stop on this particular shot right here.
Yeah,
look at that. Like I posted that on Twitter. I was like, okay, here's Mobius's version of a flying island, and here's Jose Garcia. So, and that's a part of the second. Immortal Rising is 2 stories. You've got like the low level, early 20-somethings who are trying to figure out how to be a group, and then also on the other point of view of this great war is the gods version. And I've heard, I think it was Big Kahuna's and Evely Music said that it reminded them of the Primarchs from 40K, Warhammer 40K. And so like these god level characters, they have their own council and they're trying to move their own chess pieces as this great war slowly and say slowly, quickly comes to a head on this planet of Terra. So it's very involved, about as detailed and lived in as the art is. So go check it out. I think that if you've ever played D&D, maybe you miss playing D&D, or you're interested in seeing what it was like, I would go buy the book. And if that doesn't do it for you, there's all that amazing art. There's Knights of Locutus.
Nice.
Yeah, there we
Oh
go.
hell yeah!
So this is them.
I would love to see this in a video game.
So yeah, right. Well, a lot of people say it as they're reading it, the way he lays out the pages and everything. Jose Garcia, it feels like you're kind of like reading an animated movie because it flows so well, and his style. He spent, I don't know, 10, 20 years, something crazy like that, in every animation studio you can think of. And then he went solo. He started his own school. He teaches his own animation courses. And he wanted to get into comic books. I happened to meet him right at the time he wanted to kick off into getting into comic books. We hit it off. He likes the story and all that stuff. And here we are a few years later. We're finally on campaign number 2. But we did a couple of other things in between that time. We did a couple of short stories. One was for Anvil Magazine, for Iron Age Anvil Magazine number 2.
Yes.
We did, was it Baphomet's Child, which is in universe, but it's its own thing, which is really cool. It's like this magical warrior has to try to save a young girl's life. Turns out her soul has been stolen, and he has to go into the spirit world to retrieve it. And shit kind of cracks off, and it gets pretty intense for him unexpectedly. He's like, oh shit, this is what I'm dealing with. And then the other one that we did together was a black and white for Arrow Comics for an anthology they did. That one's called The Tower Time Forgot. It's a dystopian future story where couple of the last two remnants of humanity is still alive amongst a nanotech virus. And the girlfriend is infected, and the boy and the girl go into this the last known scientist lab in a tower in San Francisco, and they try to find the cure to her virus. And again, shit does not go the way they planned. So it's super cool. Actually, if you go down a little bit, you can see the covers for those.
I'm just sitting here looking at this. This is the duality.
The blue one. That's Corey Barton. That was the cheesecake cover I was telling you about. That's the Empress. And so my first campaign, I had the cover that you held up. For this one, I was like, you know what? For the premium, I'm going to do Corey Barton cover. And then for issue 2, I'm going to have. I hired Jimmy Reyes from Marvel fame. He did the inks and the pencils of the ogre, as well as RPG colorist Andrea Gardino. He did the coloring, and it came out gorgeous. It's like, was it the Beauty and the Brute? So, and I have those as a bundle for $35. Now, individually, they're $20. So, if you haven't gotten the first one, jump in. All of my prices are basically at cost. Because I would love to get you as a reader. So that means $5 floppies. There you go. There's the Premium Immortals bundle right there, $35. And if you're kind of interested, but you don't want to spend as much money, I've got the first story as $10, which is $5, 2 floppies. The art's a little different. It doesn't include everything as the premiums, but the story is all there.
Are these available in digital?
I do not have the digital yet, but as soon as this is over, I'm probably going to put it on Global Comics, as well as like Amazon and stuff. So yeah, I will have a digital tier. I do have a digital tier on Fund My Comic for the first issue. I think it's $8. So
okay.
Very, very worth it.
I think you did this deliberately to make me have to choose. Do I want the cheesecake or do I want the orc cover? So you know me too well.
Ogre, but fair enough. I know you love orc.
That's a little iffy there.
Fair enough.
You say.
Hey, if you see an orc and you'll buy it, then yes, it's an orc. It's fine.
Well,
Yeah,
all right.
and the everything. I have an everything box. You get the 2 premiums, 4 floppies, and 2 ash cans plus a shirt for $100. So very affordable all the way around. And yeah, it's a great intro because I'm just starting out. This is only my second campaign. The third one's almost finished. And as you can see, I have a lot going on with Jose. We like working together. I'm pretty sure he likes working with me. And yeah, we're just going to keep cracking these out. I'm thinking about doing so that whole Baphomet's Child ash can from Iron Age Anvil magazine. I'm thinking about doing that as like a going forward as a way to do side stories and just do like small 10-page, maybe 20-page, side stories from the main one. So yeah, go to the campaign page and you can see, listings for the background for the characters and all that stuff. Kind of on this one, I assume you've kind of read the first one, and I explained their emotional state for the second book, which is kind of cool. Just kind of, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to buy the first one to catch up because this looks cool, kind of thing.
Now, here's my thing: is it really an isekai if they just go from one fantasy world to another fantasy world?
Yeah, that's James Craig mentioned it was kind of like an isekai, and I was like, sure, why not? Because they are transported to another world, which is completely foreign to them.
But it's not like lit RPG, right?
No, nope.
Where they're in like a game or something.
They are not in a game, not at all.
Okay.
It is actually based on a game, but that I played with my friends, I don't know, 15 years ago or something. But it is not actually that they are in a game. It may look like it, but it is not. It will feel like if you've ever played D&D, it will feel like a D&D world. It will feel like D&D kind of, because I played on generic kind of tropes as far as like their design, just so people kind of understood their jobs and things like that. But no, I mostly tried.
They're not like, oh, this sword gives me plus 30 stamina or something.
Yes, it's not like that at all. No,
Not a fan of the lit RPG stuff, Spencer.
I hate lit RPG. I hate it so much.
So I ran it through Grok. I was like, tell me, what is Immortal Rising comic book? And it gave me a pretty good synopsis of it. It was like epic fantasy, survival horror, light survival horror. So because that is kind of a strong point of it, is that you watch the main character, Drake Hardy, a ranger, Elven Ranger, kind of go from being a cocky, talented dude who over time, he has to learn that he doesn't know it all, and he gets humbled pretty quickly, and he has to overcome his circumstances to pull these strangers together just to survive in a war that's really not. It came out of nowhere, right? Mm-hmm. And to know what I mean, you got to read the book.
Right. Okay. Cool.
I liked it, and I reviewed that one. I was trying.
You did.
I get Immortal Rising and Infinite Tale Chronicles a little mixed up, just because they're both kind of. I know they don't look exactly like, but in my head, I'm like, it's colorful fantasy.
Well, and we also streamed together for like a year and a half. So I get it. That's fine. Shit. But go check it out. If any of that look good, you will not be disappointed.
All right, cool. Well, speaking of orcs, as I mentioned a little earlier, I was going to move on to some of the media stuff for the stream. Have you guys know the Plague is back, the show that everyone loves, apparently, according to the media, but nobody who actually has any good sense loves, which is Rings of Power. Kind of came back recently. What are you guys feeling on that regard?
I recorded what is today, Monday? I recorded a podcast 2 days ago where the guests on the podcast, there was 3 of them, and they all said that they loved Rings of Power, and I told them that they were never going to be on my show again.
Oh shit!
No, they're good friends of mine. Of course they'll be back, but I was just like, really? Wow, you're the first people that I've met that liked Rings of Power, because dear God, that show is just awful. It's just
I'd never
terrible.
watched the first one because the production value looks shitty. And then it seemed like
Well,
it
see-
was centered around Galadriel, and that didn't interest me. And
Well,
then
see that
on top of
I
that,
thought
it's all fan fiction. It's not even to, the Similarian or whatever. So it's like, well, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I thought the production, like the actual production value of the show, looked like incredible. Like it looks like they put millions and millions and millions of dollars into it, but it doesn't really mean
That
much if they're
armor?
not doing
Yeah.
anything with their story and their characters. And you have Elrond, who's this kind of soy boy. I don't even know what to call him. He's a shadow of what we see of him in
That-
the movies.
That actor that plays Elrond, his head looks like a squished
rat?
gummy bear.
Yeah.
It looks like a gummy bear. You take in your fingers and you're just going to squish it down a little bit. That was one thing that I kind of had a little point of contention with that particular aspect of the show's design was the elves do not look like elves, like at all. There's no,
Yeah.
they're not even. It's like they're not even trying. It's just get some actors and slap some elf ears on them. Elf ears you
Exactly.
cannot really even see because
Yeah.
of how their ridiculous hair is done.
It's
Nothing.
so odd. It's so weird.
And on top of that, I talked about this with Ryan Cahill on one of Mike from Mike's Book Review streams. The dialogue is absolute dog shit.
Did you see the thing that
It's-
was going around on Twitter the other day that was like somebody actually wrote this, and it was like the opening scene to, I think, season 2 or something, where they're on the boat and Elrond is like, they're like asking him for the ring back and he's like, no, I'm not going to give you the ring. Like that whole scene, I was watching that just like, what? Like who got paid to write this? Like I just can't believe. Trevitt says it's not an elf-shaped head or an elf head shape. I totally agree.
Right. It's when you've been reading fantasy for as long as I have, you get a sense of someone who writes it in an almost mocking way. And that's what the dialogue feels like. It feels like someone trying way too hard to sound like fantasy.
Yeah. Like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like,
it does. I mean, you can tell when
hey, Shad,
it's just try hard.
Yeah.
Because it's so over the top and trying to sound Shakespearean with like every interaction.
Right.
Nothing about it feels genuine.
Yeah, I mean, you watch the movies and they have some parts of the movies that are like very like poetic and like, you think about the whole God, why am I forgetting, the council of where they're all like, and my sword and my bow and my axe, like that is like a very like poetic, basically anything Elrond says. But then you have other things where the hobbits are just shooting the shit in the Shire. And they're like, hey, you want to launch some fireworks and smoke some pipeweed? And it's like, it's very like natural and normal. And it's not like, the hobbits aren't sitting in the Shire like, and I shall go find the ring, or I shall go take the ring to Mordor. It's like, I don't know.
I shall attempt to journey forth across the land.
Yeah.
To deliver upon the evil, the ring of Sorry, okay, buddy. That's funny.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't actually seen the Rings of Power proper. I've seen like many like clips and scenes and stuff, and I just can't bring myself to get on with it. It's just wild. My mom texted me this weekend and she was like, have you seen this Rings of Power show? It's great. And I'm like, everybody hates it. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, have you seen the Wheel of Time show? I'm like, yeah, everybody hates it. She's like, what?
It's the perfect normie trap. Like it's, to me, it's normie fantasy.
Right. Yeah.
And it's
probably true.
It's weird because like normies, they don't know the difference between good fantasy and bad fantasy. It's just all
right.
It's all the same thing.
The costumes, the costumes, the armor. Are you kidding me?
Terrible.
Compare that to Jackson. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe you can't
I'll
compare
agree
it.
there,
I don't know, but $1 billion and you still can't come out with good costumes. I'm sorry.
You
Well,
know
that's the
what's
same. That's the same problem that Wheel of Time had, where it's like these people are living in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and they're traveling for weeks and weeks on end without showers, without anything.
Yeah.
And you get 5 episodes into the show, and they're in like pristine clothes that are like their robes are white, and there's no
Yeah.
dirt. And it's like, did you guys like think about this fucking
no,
at all? Like,
no, they
No, they
didn't.
didn't.
They
blows
did
my
not.
mind, man.
It's amazing because the amount of money they spent on this,
Yeah.
and it for all the money they had to throw at it. It feels like there's almost no effort, and especially when it comes down to the actors, they're just hamming it up. It feels like an off-Broadway production. Like they are just not there for all the
Right.
all the high-minded talk that they put into their interviews and everything. Like there's something lacking from their performances that you can tell. There's a little bit of a half-heartedness to it.
Maybe
For
community college.
Yeah, I
It's a
think they
community
understand
college theater.
that
Mhm.
their heart's not in it, and they're trying their best, but
Well, I
they
think
got it. They got another reception is not as good as they're faking it to be.
I think the people making these costumes and stuff, they're not like fantasy fans or like not like experienced fantasy fans. And so I
Yeah.
think in their head they're like, well, everything needs to be like bright and shiny. And it's like, no, watch Game of Thrones, watch House of the Dragon. Like that, like the clothing isn't bright and shiny. It's made out of like animal fur and shit. Like it's like drab, like gray and dark colors. It's not like these like if you had a purple robe, it means you were like the fucking king or something. You know what I mean? Like that's like nobility clothing. It's not your average guy in a
Well,
town
like
wouldn't.
if they're going to
know.
do like actual historical kind of color, everything was colorful, everything was dyed, but at the same time, like
If you could
you
afford
know,
it.
well, I mean, you go and you look at the old pictures, like people got like those weird costumes where it's like
Mhm.
half of it's white and half of it's some ungodly color or something, Everybody's got
Right.
colorful tapestries and everything. All the statues are actually painted, they're not white, that kind of stuff. But like if it doesn't get dirty after, like you were saying, five days on the trail and
Yeah.
you still everything's pristine, it's like, yeah. Sorry, dude. It's like
I
one of my problems
Or
with
ripped
episode
or
7 of Star Wars is like everything looked like a set. Nothing looked lived in at all. Well, if you're not
Mhm.
going to give me a lived in atmosphere, then I'm not interested.
which was
Sorry.
one of the
Yeah.
biggest appeals of Star Wars, is that it felt like a lived-in
Yeah, it felt.
universe, and
Yeah. Yep.
not as pristine as Star Trek did. Which, that is what it is. It's again, I preferred
Or
Mass Effect.
Battlestar Galactica, like they didn't get very dirty in that either.
Never saw that
Yeah.
actually. I missed that. I missed a lot of things back in the day, but
Have you
Fair
guys
enough.
seen the show Silo on Apple TV?
no,
No, haven't heard of it.
That's
because it's on Apple TV, man. Like nobody has Apple TV.
No,
Like-
Apple TV is no joke the best streaming service right now. Like it has some of like literally the best shows. There are so many shows on there that are going to end up being in my list for my favorite like media of the year. Yeah, Silo is incredible because it took a book that wasn't great and faithfully adapted, like it literally 100% adapted everything that was in the book and made it better. And the costuming, the reason I bring it up is the costuming in that show is just off the charts. It's so good. Like it looks like these are people that have lived in this underground bunker for like hundreds of years, and it's amazing.
Shit.
I mean,
Highly recommend.
Spencer, the last
Sweet.
TV show I watched, we talked about me and Bracken when we talked about Fallout, the TV
Fallout,
show.
that was another good one. Yeah.
It was despite its issues, I mean, we all liked it. Bracken, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, he's kind of zoned out because he's
I was gonna ask if you were sponsored by Apple TV by chance.
No, I'm not, but I do preach the good word of it because yeah, it's damn good. There's so I could literally list like 10 shows right now that are all like 10 out of 10s for me on there.
Yeah.
Trebbit says he binged all of Fallout in one day.
I've seen some stuff like clips of shows that are on Apple TV, but I haven't seen enough to make me want to. Because I only got like Amazon Prime, and that's just because we ship stuff to ourselves all the time. What are you doing?
My things. Dang it. Am I out of focus for you guys too?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I
I'll
thought you were
figure it out.
trying to do like that. Remember that music video? God, that was a long time ago. Hey guys, remember music videos?
Yeah.
What the fuck is that?
Well, kids, back in the day, and no, that would actually be a rant, but like everyone's heard it before. And it's kind of weird because we
it'll
all
fix
here kind of
itself.
grew up watching like music videos, right? Bracken, if he watched a music video, it was probably something somebody put together on YouTube, like an OMV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me go here. Well, I'm gonna shift gears real quick, guys. To speaking of shit that's just kind of failing all over the place.
Concord.
I'm gonna go to yeah. Let's talk about where gaming is at these days. The latest.
Oh God, Borderlands.
Yeah, we've had these rash.
That was a
of just,
rough movie.
I need to. May I about the Borderlands movie?
Please do. Go ahead.
So, context, I am a massive, massive fans of Borderlands 1 and 2. Not so much the pre-sequel, but that one's still okay. Now, as much as Borderlands 3 killed my, interest in the series, this movie may be the death of the franchise, if you ask me.
Oof.
This is like a tombstone. This whole movie is a grave.
Dude.
It is insane how it looks terrible. It looks like a money laundering scheme. I have seen cosplays of better accuracy.
Yeah. And the guy who made Borderlands is coming out defending it, and everybody is like, dude, you need to stop posting to Twitter. Like,
This
you
is
just
it.
you
Yeah,
need to
this
get
ain't it,
offline.
bro. This ain't it.
Defend Borderlands 4 whenever that comes out. But,
Right. It makes me
is
less
not it.
excited for Borderlands 4, honestly.
Oh
Oh.
my
I wasn't
God.
excited for Borderlands 4. Like I said before, I stopped at 3 because 3 was just out of it. It was not the same series for me. But
Oh, interesting. I liked 3.
What awful timing on the part of the Borderlands devs to release. They had to have this lined up ahead of time. The announcement of Borderlands 4 at I think the Gamescom that happened a couple weeks ago, and you just know they were hoping that, guys, look, here's what we'll do. We got the Borderlands movie, and once it's riding high after about a month or so, we'll drop the news of Borderlands 4, and we'll keep that hype wave going. Boy, did that blow up in their face. I don't think there's anything anyone wanted less of than more Borderlands. Like this is the only thing I can say is like Krieg at least looks accurate.
My personal issues with it are one, Claptrap does not need to be voiced by who was it? Jack Black.
Jack Black.
Jack Black, yeah.
The worst voice actor you could have gotten for Claptrap. And as for the actors, it feels like everyone's like 20 years older than they should be. They casted like a 20-year-old as a 12-year-old girl. Like,
yeah. Why did they cast Kevin Hart? I cannot stand him as an actor.
They
like
cast
at
Kevin
all.
Hart. And they were trying to go for the Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, right? Like,
yeah, for sure.
That was plain to see. And
but like if the Guardians of the Galaxy were in their like late 40s, early 50s.
Well, Guardians of the Galaxy when they get washed up after like 20 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, Chris Pratt's like 40 and Dave Bautista's in his 50s.
You know what?
Oh,
I'm
surprised
so it's pretty accurate
then.
I'm surprised Chris Pratt isn't in this movie. Genuinely.
They put him. Where does this meme come from? That he feels like he's in everything, but he's really not in anything any more than anyone else is.
He was Garfield, Mario.
It feels like he's in a lot of voice roles more than anything.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's true.
He was everywhere for a little while. Like after Jurassic World really popped off, and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
He was like the it guy in Hollywood for a brief moment. Now, for some reason, he's being replaced with Pedro Pascal, who is in everything, and he has that face thing going on that John C. Reilly has, where he looks moderately okay in his youth, but the older he gets, the more scrunched and ugly his face looks.
Yeah.
Like he was in Game of Thrones and he looked like absolute peak in Game of Thrones, and now he looks like an old catcher's mitt.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's weird. I think the thing that's interesting with the Borderlands movie is that it really it's kind of like one of those things where I hear this get thrown around a lot, and a lot of times I kind of disagree with it, but it's really true this time. Who the fuck was asking for a Borderlands movie? Like,
Not me.
it's one of those things where, like, when I think of Borderlands, the reason I like Borderlands 3, I know a lot of people complain about like the story and stuff. I cannot tell you the first thing about the story of Borderlands 3. I played those games for like the gameplay and the combat and stuff, and so it's like, and I feel like I would assume a lot of other people are that way, and so I'm just kind of like, what story were you hoping to tell with the Borderlands movie? Because there's not like a whole lot of story there. And so, like, sure, there's interesting characters and there's a lot of fun, like, wacky things you can do. But as far as, like, a deep, cohesive story, it's not really the series for that. And so I don't know, even if they had younger actors, even if they had like, a better budget or whatever it would have taken, I'm just not really sure if it would have been much better. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been a dumpster fire, but I just don't know if it would have been successful in any situation, really.
Yeah,
it looked dumb, and the whole cast was not appealing. Like, I don't know the story of Borderlands at all, but nobody in that cast, I was like, ooh, I want to see them. Not one, so I'm not going to see it. And all I've heard from people that I know, that I trust their opinion, the one guy who actually did go see it was like, it's horrible. I'm like, well, I'll never go see it. Thank you for telling me.
Right.
You just
there's
money.
I couldn't even tell you that. Oh, were you gonna say something?
Just real quick, I was gonna say we had a guy on our channel recently that we've become friends with recently, and he's like very positive on a lot of things, like even with Marvel stuff and Star Wars stuff, he's like very, very positive. And he uploaded a video recently where he went and saw Borderlands the night it came out, and he was like, I don't even know what kind of video to make about this because I don't really make negative videos. He's like, but you should not spend your money on this. Like, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen. I'm like, wow, for him to say that, like, it must be really, really bad.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brett.
The thing I was going to say is, I couldn't really tell you the full story of Borderlands, at least not in a coherent sentence. But I think that is the part where it failed. It was trying to make a stupid, over the top, and overly complex story into a linear movie, and it's a story that can only really be expressed through a video game. You know?
Yeah.
And not for nothing, the story, as such as it were, of the first game is so forgettable that you can really skip right over it and go straight to 2, because
Borderlands 2 is the peak. It is the peak of Borderlands.
And arguably there was some goodness to be found in the Telltale game, which had some funny writing and some good characters, and you know, but to me, they were probably hoping this would be the start of a series, and for that reason, I don't think they went with, you know, everybody the favorite villain, Handsome Jack. So why would you not?
Yeah, how did they miss that, dude? That's
they probably thought they were going to get a sequel, and they would introduce him in the sequel.
There's two. Handsome Jack is like one of the 2 most iconic characters from that series. Him and Claptrap are practically the face of those games. So it did surprise me not to see him in this movie, although they would have screwed him up anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah, probably. And the thing is, this was not just a bomb of a video game movie. This is actually one of the worst bombs in cinema history.
Yeah.
Based on how much they spent on it.
Yeah.
And how much it actually pulled in. It's up there. And man, there's some stinkers that have absolutely flopped.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's got to be a money laundering scheme.
Right. Yeah.
Probably right.
Sometimes Hollywood executives have more money than sense.
Yeah, totally. There's a YouTuber I watched that said the same thing about every single one of these that's on screen right now. He's like, if I make $1 from this YouTube video, I made more profit than the Borderlands movie, or I made more profit than Concord.
Well,
Wow.
I will give one credit where credit is due. Kate Blanchett, right?
Yeah.
Right there in the Redhead. She actually did her due diligence. I read that she played the games.
I would love
She
to
read
talk
up on the character. She wanted to understand the character as much as possible before going
Yeah.
in. And we don't really get that a whole lot. Everybody else, I think, just showed up and ad-libbed their line. They probably just all ad-libbed their lines. I would imagine the script wasn't all that terribly complex. Kevin Hart probably just did it for a paycheck. He does a lot of things for a paycheck.
Right.
But credit where it's due, Kate Blanchett, a.k.a. Galadriel from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
She's been in one of the best movies of all time, and now one of the worst movies of all time.
So this is the sad thing, right? Because it's not often that I wish I could talk directly with a celebrity, but if I could talk to her, I wish I could just say, like, I know, like, the movie was bad and it flopped, but you did such a good job by actually playing the fucking game and doing your due diligence. Like, please don't let this, keep doing that. Like, please keep doing that. I wish every single actor would do that, because we saw it pay off with Henry Cavill as Geralt, even though that ended terribly. Still, he did his due diligence, and the fans loved him for it. And if this had done really well, people would have loved Kate Blanchett for it as well. But it's sad. It's sad to finally get a scenario where the actor did the thing that we all want them to do, and it failed. Like, it really sucks that those two things are combined.
And look, here's the thing, and that's one of the reasons why the TV show Ms. Marvel didn't get savaged by the YouTubers. One, because they had no interest in it, because it was very obvious. I think they watched a couple episodes and realized, oh, this is a show made for teenage girls,
right?
And they got out of it. But if you go look at them, a lot of the YouTubers that people really hate watching stuff and reviewing it, they all said the same thing, that the actress that played Ms. Marvel was actually delightful. She did her due diligence. She read up on the character, even though nobody really cared about the character Ms. Marvel. Kamala Khan is her name. But she was nice, and she did not attack the fans, and she put her heart into the role. She didn't have sour grapes that, not a lot of people watched it. And, because of that, really she kind of went untouched. There's this occasional thing you see in movies where an actor will put on a good performance, or they'll have they'll just be in this kind of bubble from the rest of the shit show that goes on. And so, a lot of people don't really, touch them or mention that. Earl Jackie Haley playing Freddy kind of got that. Like, he's a great actor, but that was not a good movie that he was in. But people didn't savage his abilities. It was just a bad movie,
Right.
Yeah. Some I would like to mention, now that I think about it. I could say, considering I am a fan of Doom, I think the Borderlands movie may rival the Doom movies in terms of awfulness.
No.
Doom? Like DOOM?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was Doom movies.
Yeah,
there's two of them, and neither of them are good.
So I didn't know there was a second one, but the first one not as, I don't know. I'm not gonna die on that hill, but was it Carl Urban and The Rock?
Yeah,
I thought Carl Urban did a great job.
No way. That's funny.
It's not, the first one isn't awful. It's just a little I think the
one exactly. It's meh. But the first person point of view shots where it feels like you're actually in the game. That was kind of cool. I'll give him props on that.
I just learned that there's a Gremlins 2 movie the other day, and that a grown
my God,
man
you never
fucks
saw
one
it?
of
You
the
never saw Gremlins 2?
No, I had no idea.
That movie is batshit insane.
Apparently, a human man fucks a gremlin.
No, that's implied. It's not actually shown. Dude,
He's
I mean,
he's like, I could.
Oh, I just looked it up. Yeah, it goes Doom, and then this one that came after it in 2019 was called Doom Annihilation, and the second one was way worse than the first.
Oh no!
Interesting.
I'm pretty sure in the second movie, in Doom Annihilation, the only reference to Doom is the fact that the BFG is there. That is the only thing that connects it.
Oh,
That's
not
it.
good.
Hold on a second. I don't know if I'm going to get struck of playing this.
What
I
is
may
it?
have to remove this out later, Spencer. But
Do it.
There's this scene. You know what I'm talking about, Aaron? There's this scene
No.
in Gremlins 2.
Should I watch Gremlins 2? Is it actually like funny, or is
It's
it like
fun.
ironic?
I think it's funny.
It's
Okay.
very
Yeah.
funny in a lot of ways, and it plays with the concept that got established in Gremlins 1. It even pokes fun at some of the stuff that happened in Gremlins 1.
Oh, it makes fun of itself completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the first one's kind of scary but funny, and then the second one's just for funny. You know.
But I'm gonna. What the?
What was that?
What happened?
My wife pranked me with some baby powder.
Oh, I thought it was like vape smoke or something.
No, we don't do that here.
Did he
Not
fart?
yet.
I mean, it's definitely baby powder.
Wow.
Yeah,
Way to go.
At least
Yeah,
it
I'm going
wasn't
full
like chili powder.
going full Ricada up in here.
Yeah.
Hold on,
Yeah. Dude, Ricada, what a crazy story that
Oh,
is.
dude, and the worst part is he's trying to lawyer talk his way out of it to his fans, as
Oh
if-
my god.
as if that what you saw is not actually what you saw. Like, dude, shut
Oh,
up.
dude. So
No humility, no accountability. I have no sympathy for what happens to him.
It's insane.
Anyway,
It's insane.
This is a clip about 2 minutes and 37 seconds. This is in the middle of the movie. Okay. The basic premise of Gremlins 2 is the Gremlins go apeshit in a big, massive corporate shopping mall.
Turn up the playback speed on it, and maybe YouTube won't hit you.
I will. Okay, let me see here.
It's up to you. You don't have to. But.
If I get struck, I'll just edit it out of the replay. But this is a scene that's got to be seen. Or if you have no context for this, this is still funny. I'm gonna bring this up.
Okay.
Bring this up. Come on, share screen. I've been doing this.
Trevitt says
been doing
it's
this for-
good. Granted, I haven't seen it in many years. I might have to check this movie out. I don't know.
It's
All
worth
right.
one shot. You know, give it one
Yeah.
shot.
Sure.
Oh, right. I forgot Christopher Lee is in this movie as an evil
Yeah.
scientist.
Yeah, he's the mad scientist.
Okay, so this is the middle of the movie. Watch what happens here.
Okay.
Break it, sir. What happened? What happened? They fought back.
They're taking the Hohenzollern.
Stuff. I swear to God, young man, I will never hurt anything ever again. There's some things that man is not meant to
And if you look back
never hurt
there,
anything.
that
Man
right
was
there
not
between
meant.
them is the guy that got with the.
Oh
female
yeah,
at
that
the end.
ends up fucking the gremlin.
You know who that
That's
is, right?
implied.
That's Robert Picardo.
What's he
Yes.
from?
He's the holographic doctor from Voyager when he still
Oh,
had
okay, I
hair.
didn't see it.
If you cover it at the top of his head with your thumb, you'll see it. Like, oh, right, I didn't recognize him with
Yeah,
hair.
he's a great character actor. He was also in China Beach. He was also the troll in Legend. Like, yeah, he's been around for a while.
Yeah.
That's great.
Ever again. There's some things that man is not meant to displace.
Here's a problem, Tim. Sir, please try and calm down. We don't intend to renew your lease. Just tell us where you saw the things.
Don't patronize me, young man. They're real. I saw them.
I know, I've seen them too, but where?
In my laboratory. Force of life.
It
wasn't my own.
Oh, John, what'd you do?
Oh, it like
Gremlins
breaks the
actually-
fourth wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, so this won't make any sense to anyone
Uh-huh.
who's watching modern movies. Like back in the day, film was actually on film, and when
Right.
it fucked up, like
Right.
it would do that.
Yeah.
You got digital projectors now that would not do that with.
Now you
Right,
got to finish
right.
the scene. There you go.
So they fucked up the film. What are they going to do now?
There we go.
Sir, I can't believe this. I mean, than the first one.
We just show these movies, madam. We don't make them.
I quit. Call the union. Call the National Guard. Those things
Call the
have
union.
taken over the projector. They refuse to show the rest of the film. All I want to see is Snow White, the Seven Dwarfs.
Enough. I'll take care of this.
Yeah. He knows what to do.
Have gremlins. Could you gremlins in this theater now? Okay, you guys, listen up. People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas.
Look at how young he looked back then. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Do I have to come up there myself?
He's on the upcycle of his steroids.
Yeah.
There goes the shirt.
Well, if I were you, I'd run the rest of Gremlins too, right now. Sorry, folks. It won't happen again.
What a celebrity spot. That's so funny.
Out of nowhere.
Hulk was everywhere in the late 80s and early 90s. That was he just a random Hulk Hogan promo out of nowhere. You couldn't
Was
get away
he
from
like
him
the
those days.
what back then, was he like what The Rock is now, kind of?
More or less, although I would argue that The Rock is a bit of a better actor. At the very least, he's a more believable actor.
Yeah,
Sure.
and he's in a lot more like stuff too. I think Hulk was in maybe a couple movies, and then that one TV show where he's like
Thunder in Paradise.
Florida.
I
Yeah,
loved that hokey ass show. They filmed the entire thing on the Universal Studios lot. Spencer, this thing was so cheesy and hokey to watch. It was hilarious. Basically, they solved all their problems with a massive one of those big cigar boats.
yeah.
And
What
it was
movie is
hilarious
this?
because it's not a movie. It was like a 13-episode TV show called Thunder in Paradise.
Okay.
And it had this whole TARDIS effect thing where he'd be on the outside of the boat and then he'd go into it. And the inside was like so much bigger than the outside. It was hilarious. It was like the command the command deck of the Enterprise. It was hilarious.
That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. They tried to the Batmobile, the whole thing. The Rock's movies are at least somewhat entertaining. I watched a lot of Hulk Hogan's movies back in the days, but I got to be honest, he's got a certain range, and that range is Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't watch anything with The Rock anymore. I just can't do it. I've
You
hit
know,
my
me
limit.
neither. I'm kind of bored. It's like, oh, it's The Rock playing The Rock again, you know?
Right.
And now he's just a little older. It's like, well,
Yeah.
okay.
A little
guess.
older and a little more full of steroids. The best
What?
he ever was in Fast Five, which is a great movie, and he added a new
Yeah.
dimension to it. Great fight
Yeah.
scenes.
Whatever
I was
happened to
bored
Vin
by that
Diesel? Is he
superhero.
only
only doing fast movies now?
Yeah, that's his cash cow. And he's sticking to it. Although rumors
Yeah.
are that he's going to be doing another Chronicles of Riddick movie.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
I'd be interested.
Bring
Bring back Carl Urban, though.
for decades about taking Riddick back to Furia. I would kind of want to finish that particular story. I would watch that because the last Riddick movie was actually really good. They took him back to basics to
Mhm.
kind of correct for the second movie, being a little more hokey and not as good as Pitch Black.
Hmm.
Which Bracken, that's going to be on our Halloween watch this year.
What? I wasn't
Well,
paying attention.
The first one?
Pitch Black with Vin Diesel is probably the one movie where he's the most believable as a badass.
Interesting.
Oh, all right.
Good horror movie. We got a lot of. We always line up horror movies or Halloween-ish movies every year
Yeah.
that we haven't seen before, and I've got several that I meant to get to last year we didn't get to. This year, I know we're going to watch Pitch Black. I also know we're going to watch Event Horizon because Bracken's never
Ooh, good
seen
one.
that. And I'm
And
thinking
I'm
we wanna
also a
do-
very big fan of sci-fi things.
yeah.
Oh, you'll like Event Horizon. That's like, yeah. It went for a long time, kind of not really getting the due that it deserved. But I'm glad to see, in retrospect, it's kind of got a cult following because it was really good. You know, if you like horror, that kind of gross horror, man, and it's
Horror
like
and
sci-fi and yeah, it's so good, so good. Sam Neill,
Horror and
fucking-
sci-fi are my specialties.
Oh, we
Who,
should have watched it before now. Then
yeah, it's got a few stars in it, like in the early '90s. So right before a couple of them like hit it big. So, anyways, I have to take off. I appreciate the time. And please go find my comic book if you like anime, if you like fantasy. We're talking, Castlevania meets, Final Fantasy. Go check it out. We're just starting out from, this is campaign number 2, but there's plenty of stuff there to kind of wrap your brain into. So all the art is gorgeous. The story is epic. And all of the characters are believable. Some of them are likable. Some of them are hateable. So, go check it out. It's very unique. So, anyways, thank you, John, for having me come on. I appreciate it. And happy Labor Day, everybody. I got to go get ready for work in the morning. So,
Nice.
thank you.
Yeah.
See,
Nice
see you
meeting you,
around,
man.
guys. And nice
Happy
meeting you,
Labor Day, bro.
Spencer and Bracken. So, later on.
Bye.
All right. Hail the Lord says he's watching The Crow for Halloween. Want to add that to the movies this year, Bracken? Because
Possibly. Which was that about?
it's basically RoboCop, but with goth. A goth dude.
I've heard the new Crow movie is a complete disaster.
No, it's not a surprise. Pretty much every Crow movie after the first one was garbage.
Oh, is there many of them?
Apparently. A lot of straight-to-DVD ones. Kind of went the same route as Highlander did. If I don't know if you follow that particular series any. Oh, that one was real up and down. Highlander 1, classic 80s movie. Highlander 2 tried to add a sci-fi origin story for the characters in it, and it was rather regarded as one of the worst sequels of all time.
Wow.
And then they brought the TV show with Adrian Paul, which was very good. I watched several seasons of that.
I remember the TV show. My mom was super into that.
I mean, you had Queen for a theme song. You were almost destined for something great. And then they did a third movie with Adrian Paul and Christopher Lambert to kind of cross the two over.
Right.
And I think then I think there was another one or two. There was a spinoff TV show, and then ultimately it ended with this movie called Highlander: The Source, which Spoonie lampooned. And I got to tell you, that is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Funny, just not in the way. It was not intended to be funny, but it is hilarious to watch how hilariously bad that is. But it was a terrible ending to the Highlander franchise in all respects. Just
So, are we gonna talk about Concord and the other ones on that page?
Yeah, I've been waiting for that.
Let's get to Concord. I was gonna try and go into it when we were talking about some of the other stuff.
Hey, has my audio been fine?
You could pitch it down a little bit.
Okay. How about this?
Pitch it up a little bit.
Okay. What about this?
That's perfect.
Okay.
So let's go to this. Concord.
Oh, I thought that was. I didn't think that was Concord. I thought that was like a Fortnite bundle or something. What the hell?
Yeah.
This is some of the characters you can select on Concord, and I think if they hadn't shown off these characters in the character selection screen in the initial trailer, they might have had a few more people suckered into playing this. But I still think it would have very quickly gone the other way.
Yeah.
I think the main problem I've seen with it is it's like if you took Overwatch, removed the art style, and then slowed the game by like 25%. Because all the gameplay I see of it is like people slowly walking to a location to slowly shoot at each other.
Well, I think, to be fair, I think it depends on what character you play as, because some of them are like tankier and they move slower. And I've seen people play with some of the other characters, and they kind of zip around a little bit quicker. But
I mean, out of all of them, if I had to say, the character designs aren't awful.
No, they're awful.
No, they're not awful.
Man.
I just feel like they don't lend themselves to whatever style this is. They look like they need to be put into like a more cartoonish style, you know?
Yeah, and they look like I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like none of them like match each other. Like none of them
not at all. They're like
fit
style contrast.
Yeah, they don't all look like they're in the same world, and
yeah,
I don't know. I just think like it is so wild to me that you would work on this game for 8 years, and
Oh,
if
it was developed for 8 years.
with a
yeah,
budget of
and
$200 million.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay,
and
that was a part of my theory. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
no, you're good. It's they if you look at the date of when they first started developing this game, it was around the exact same time as the release trailer for the very first Overwatch. And so you can do
Oh,
the math and be like, yeah, they saw Overwatch and Sony was like, we need one of those. And
it,
somehow it took them 8 years to make this game when we're seeing
my
something like
God.
Jedi Survivor get made in 3 or 4,
Yeah.
and it's like how did this take 8 years? Like an Elder Scrolls game takes like 8 to 10 to 12 years. Like how does something like this? I just don't get it. I just don't understand. But
my,
what an incredible flop.
They were chasing the trend of the hero shooter, right?
Yeah.
And the problem with chasing trends in the video game industry is it takes years to make these games, and trends live and die very quickly.
Yes.
You know how jarring it is to go back to a game from like the late 2000s, early 20 or the early aughts,
Yeah.
and come
Mhm.
across a quick time event like
Yeah.
that. Trend went away. A lot of people complained about that, and that
Yeah, that
trend
was
went away.
here
Now
and gone.
thank God. I didn't. It was okay at first, but I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
And the
I
hero
think
shooter only worked best with Overwatch, but even Overwatch is like in the toilet right now. The Overwatch,
Yeah,
the
nobody
biggest
really
Overwatch
likes
fans are not.
Overwatch anymore either. So it's like, what? You're making a game that is not only like based, like heavily based on another game, but it's
Mhm.
based on a game that people aren't really playing a whole lot of anymore, and
Mm-mm.
people are kind of pissed at.
Yeah.
And so it's just, if this had done something unique, there's a hero shooter coming up called, uh, God, I'll have to Google it. But
Is
there's
it
another
Deadlock?
one. No, Deadlock is another one.
Yeah.
This is something punk. I forget what it's called. But there's another one coming up that actually looks unique and actually looks pretty cool. And it's like, okay, that's doing something different that isn't like an Overwatch clone, but the Fragpunk, that's what it's called.
Huh.
And it actually it's doing some really unique things. But something like this, it's like clearly this is an Overwatch clone, and it's not
Yeah.
like a great one. It's not like, I've heard that the gameplay isn't necessarily bad, but it's just like the same thing that we already have. This is like, we
Yeah.
have Overwatch at home.
I think here's the deal. It's hard to make a hero shooter unique, and
Right.
all the hero shooters we have currently kind of show that off. Because like
Right.
Overwatch came out in the years afterwards, I heard it was really good because, well, it was unique for its time. Now when there's like 50 other hero shooters, especially with these coming out, they're not really differentiating themselves, not by gameplay and not by art style. So it's kind of like,
And that's a big part of what made Overwatch really successful at first was you had very appealing character designs, and it really drew people in. Some might say it even drew in the wrong crowd because it's popular in certain areas that are not video games. This does not have that same quality. This does not have
Right.
the same aesthetic drawing quality, and a lot of people have been complaining about that in a lot of the games. Star Wars Outlaws has a main character who is just ugly, just
Yeah.
homely, shaggy haired, and dressed like Han Solo. We should have had a Han Solo game. Sorry. And a lot of other games that have really failed and hard flopped. Dustborn, Forspoken,
Oh God.
really took
we-
the approach of, characters that are not aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
Fortnite didn't
Well-
have that problem. Fortnite characters were fun and interesting looking.
Right. And look
well,
at
it also
it ha-
kind of comes with the fact it's all crossovers. So
Yeah. Right.
Well, still, I mean,
but like look at the upcoming game, Fable, the new Fable. And I was just like, when I first saw that character, I felt like I was taking crazy pills. I was like, wait, first of all, I was like, is this a guy or is it a girl? I'm legitimately not sure which one, like who this person is. And then it got revealed that it was a lady. And I don't think that characters necessarily need to be hot or anything, but I think that they need to look good. They need to have a style
Yeah.
to them and like a cool style. And I'll be one to say, I know I'll probably be outvoted here, but I don't think the girl from Star Wars Outlaws looks bad. I think she's got a style to her. She looks like she probably fits somewhere within the Star Wars universe. But you look at something like the girl from Fable, and it's like, what are we doing here? It's like you guys tried to make the most unappealing character you possibly could. Like you at this level, you have to try, especially when you look at the original model for that character, like the real human person that modeled to make that character, and she's like a 10 out of 10 gorgeous woman. It's like, what? Like, why are we doing this? Why is this becoming a thing in video games where we're uglifying everything, not just the women, but also the men? If you look at, if you go back to that picture where it showed all the characters, in the top left, there's like the main dude with the ponytail or whatever. And even he just looks bad. Like he's not like an attractive guy by any means. And so I'm so confused. I don't know how we got here.
I think it comes from a place of, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Spencer, I agree with what you're saying, and I think it's not really all separate issues, but it's one issue. It's that they're going more for realism than anything, and realism is not necessarily always equal to good looking. That's why I personally like games that are stylized. Because, like, my for example, my top game of the past like 2 years, or at least this year and last year, it's a game, and yes, I'm gonna be shilling this game now. Ultra Kill. It is a first-person shooter, but it's in a like PS2, PS3-esque low poly style, insanely colorful, insanely stylized, and it values gameplay over everything. And it's one of the best games I've ever played. But my point with that is, I feel like not only does it make a game much prettier to have it stylized, it also makes it better because you can also focus on the gameplay, because realistic games have realistic controls and those are kind of slow.
I agree. I agree to some extent. I do like stylized games. There's quite a few of them that I've played and really enjoyed, but I also think that, you know, it's not necessarily a get out of jail free card for them to just be like, oh, well, we were trying to make it more realistic, because you look at something like Deus Ex, the two newest Deus Ex games. Those are like heavily realistic as far as like the character models and stuff, but they all still look good. Like even the like unattractive characters still look good. Or even going back to something like Skyrim, even though the graphics are like a little bit outdated now, that was going for a realistic look, but the characters looked good. And so I just don't understand this thing.
Noob has a good point here. One of the best. We kind of me and her and like J-Mo's Gaming, which is where we kind of all saturated from, are big Xenoblade fans. And Xenoblade Chronicles is a highly anime stylized game. Looks fantastic and runs on the Switch, which, you know, is the less usually the Nintendo hardware is the least powerful hardware of whatever generation it's in. The Switch is no exception. It can run some decent stuff, but Xenoblade Chronicles and 1 and 2 and 3, like these are heavily stylized.
I will always find it so impressive that Xenoblade can run on the Nintendo DS. I will always find that impressive.
You had to buy the new 3DS that had like.
I mean, still, for the size of the console and the processing power on that is crazy.
And that was one of my favorite moments playing that game, is going through called Gar's the knee of the giant. And you get into this area, and I'm sure this must have been impressive. This was equally impressive on the Wii. But you keep going and you keep going. It's like, wow, this place is big, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And you are just in awe of how big these levels can genuinely get.
Right.
And so, it's lesser hardware, and it's a matter of the dev being able to do something good with very little. So I agree with what Noob says. A good stylized game for me will always kind of trump, being a graphics whore.
Plus, stylized games can also run better as well. They can run smoother. That's a problem I've encountered.
And
my stylized games run like,
it future-proofs your game.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think future-proofing in anything this is why you tell timeless stories. This is why you have a good style to your game. It doesn't feel you don't go back to it and go, oh God, that looks awful. I could go back and play the original Jak and Daxter and be like, oh, this is fun because it's stylized.
Well, same with Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. You could go back to that, and it's because it's like a cell shaded style. Like, it still looks good today.
That used to be my number one example of how stylization can make your game practically immortal. Is Wind Waker with its style and its storytelling.
And when that style was first announced, boy, gamers were mad.
Yeah.
Because
now it's
we thought we were getting like a higher def version of Ocarina of Time, and that didn't happen. We got this cartoony style. And I was pissed too, because that's what I wanted. And then it was the gameplay that ultimately won people over. And then it did end up getting a higher resolution game with I think it was Twilight Princess was the other.
Yeah, we got Twilight Princess as an apology.
Essentially.
Which admittedly, Twilight Princess had a really good story and really neat gameplay to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the GameCube was a little machine that could. I like that little machine. It was a fun time.
Yeah, I liked the GameCube.
It had a few styles. Going back to Concord, though, they dipped below 50 concurrent players on Steam for the first time very recently. Like, this is Anthem levels of bomb.
Yeah.
I know. I still think it hasn't reached Anthem yet. That was like 10 on day one.
Jeez. Well, it's Concord and it's Dustborn, right? These are the two that are like the biggest flops that we've seen in years and years and years. And Dustborn is just, I mean, everything, honestly, everything has already been said about Dustborn.
Yeah.
People have made like whole videos on it and stuff. So I don't have too much to say about it, but
we were talking earlier about the proliferation of putting politics over story, and this was one that kind of tried, from what I've seen, to put like the politics of Portland basically into the forefront of the game.
Yeah,
the worst, and it's getting passed around the streamers right now because they're playing it to see how bad it is, because it's full of. It's not just that the gameplay is not really all that fun, but like the characters themselves, like you can bully and
awful.
trigger and bully and trigger. This is your powers that you use. This is supposed to be a hero.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing is that recently the Dustborn studio or whatever, I forget what they're called, Red something. They came out and they were like. Hey, a message to our community. And if you look at the quote tweets, people are like, what community? And they're posting the concurrent stare. They're like, you don't have a community. And my favorite one was somebody quote tweeted them and said, bro, just DM them, and like posted the numbers of the Steam community. Like they could send out individual DMs to their community.
Hold on, I have something for this.
What you're reminding me of right now is, have either of you ever heard of Y2K, or as some people call it, Yick?
No.
Like
Y2K, the thing that happened in the year 2000?
No, the game Y2K. It is...
No.
In that game, you basically play as somebody who's supposed to be like the hero main character, and all he really does is treat his friends like garbage the whole time. And the game itself is just mind-boggling. It's not even that bad. It's just absolutely mind-boggling, some of the stuff that happens in there.
Well, the interesting thing about this is that this game, from everything I've seen, it almost seems like a a far right person's parody of like what the far left is, and it's just like, oh my god, like how did this get made? Like how did this get past
tell
any
you
sort
how.
of
I will tell you how.
go
Love to
for it?
share it. It was funded by the Norwegian government.
Really?
It's a Norwegian studio, and they got funding from the government to create this. But this got reported by Stutter and Craig not that long ago. Our own State Department actually contributed $275,000
No
for
way.
quote funding for new counter disinformation game. This
No
game is
way.
literal government propaganda.
No way.
Woo! I love propaganda.
For new counter disinformation game. What does
Why
that
can't we
even
have
mean?
Why can't we make
don't
propaganda
know, but
games
I
where
don't
like
think the mission was accomplished.
No.
if you're gonna make propaganda games, at least make them fun.
That was a
Yeah.
big gamble. Jeez.
Like Captain Planet. Captain Planet was propaganda, but at least it was fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, also, I sent you the title of that game. I would love for you to look at it. It is quite a game.
Maybe a little later, but we're going to go ahead and call the stream here, guys.
Yeah.
We're running on. I need to go ahead and clean up the kitchen after the barbecue. I've thankfully already digested my burger and everything. And that coffee is going to be in my system for a while, so I ain't going to bed anytime soon. That's for sure. Aaron from Immortal Rising, dude, thank you. You're not here. Thank you for everyone for watching. Noob, Hale, Christopher Brand. I know it's a holiday. A lot of people probably, doing other stuff and, had other things to do. So, but thank you for coming and chilling. Now, I have got to go and apologize to MSK for just fucking him over so hard. That's I'm going to owe that guy so hard. It's not even funny. But Spencer, it was always good to stream with you.
Yep.
Bracken, I'm going to
Fantasy Files Podcast. Everybody check it out. Thanks.
I will add the links into the description for the replay. And Bracken, I know you ain't got nothing to
Bye.
show.